Hi, this is Rebecca Tripp. Today I'm talking about the fifth chapter of this book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, called The Confession Continues. Right at the beginning of this chapter, Napoleon explains to the devil that he is not fearful of him because he has become the master of his destiny. He has found his other self, and because of that, he has overcome fear. And fear is the one thing that the devil is planting in everyone's mind in order to control them. And he has many ways that he does it. So Napoleon explains to the devil that his word will live on because it's the truth with a capital T, and that the devil's ideas and concepts will eventually fade away once people are onto him. And that's the whole point of Napoleon writing this book back in the 1930s. Even though he wasn't able to publish it back then, it's out there now. Came out in 2011. And he gets the devil to explain his subtle ways of manipulating people. One of his biggest tricks is flattery. He goes on to explain how most humans are very susceptible to flattery in one form or another. Example, men can seduce women by telling them they're beautiful or they look great. Women are able to seduce men. Men of great power fall to their demands when they know how to stroke their egos and tell them that they're incredible businessmen or they look fabulous. And he said really only 2 out of 100 men don't fall prey to these kinds of tactics. Flattery is also used in the spying business. The spies learn very easily how to flatter the people they're trying to get the proper information from in order to cause conflicts and wars even. Flattery is a very useful tool. Fear is propaganda. And propaganda is another way that the devil influences people. He's able to do it by putting out false information in the news. He can say things in advertising. He can say things from the pulpit. He can manipulate people in so many ways using propaganda, and they don't even realize that they're being manipulated. That's the interesting thing about propaganda. When you hear something over and over again, you begin to believe it, even though it could be very, very far from the truth. He has plans to turn America into a dictatorship, so he says in this confession. That's his goal, because once we have a dictatorship, people are very easily manipulated through propaganda. They have no choice. The devil can create run-on banks by using people's fearful consciousness in order to put them in a state where they think disaster's looming up ahead. He admits that he can create pandemics. How timely. So fear of the devil comes in many subtle forms. So Napoleon goes on to ask him, well, what about, people who achieve great wealth? Are they easily manipulated by you? And he said, oh, yes. Once people become very successful, many times he can use bribery in order to take over their minds. And Napoleon wants to know more details about that. So he explains how he can bribe them with food or sex, money, power over other people, control, drugs even, alcohol, gambling. The devil has many ways to control people. Failure is another way that the devil likes to control. There are many people who have incredible ideas. They invent things. They write books, or they want to write books. They want to bring their talent into the world. But they get that first taste of failure and they give up. And the devil realizes that failure is one of his biggest tools. But the ones that are the non-drifters realize that every failure brings with it the seed of success. And they never give up. Of course, Edison is one of the best examples. I mean, what did he do? 10,000 times he tried to invent the light bulb and never gave up. It's those who do not give up and work through every failure as a stepping stone to analyze it and realize that it's just redirection, or it's taking a look at things from a different point of view that will bring them the success they want. The non-drifter takes life on his own terms. The drifter takes whatever shows up. Example, a non-drifter may need financing for his business or what he wants to do, and he'll go to a bank and borrow the money, where a non-drifter might go to a pawn shop and pay horrendous interest rates in order to get the capital. They don't think as clearly as the non-drifter. Then he gets him to confess that there are 10 things that people can actually do to keep themselves from being drifters. One of them is to think for themselves, do their own thinking. The devil admits this. If you think for yourself, he can't touch you. You have to decide what you want and create a plan for it. If you don't have a plan of action, you just drift. You have to analyze every temporary defeat that comes along, take a look at it, figure out what you need to do to correct it, and use it as a stepping stone. You must be willing to render service to mankind. The more service you're giving, the bigger you'll be rewarded. You have to understand that your brain is like a receiving set. And when you learn how to function with it in the way that it was meant to be used, you can tap into this higher intelligence and get ideas, get guidance, come up with things that you never really would have thought of with your own experience, have inspirations, revelations, intuitions. It's an amazing tool. He also says that the greatest asset that a human has is time. We shouldn't waste it. He explains how fear can fill up the mind, and he loves to do this. He loves to fill the mind with fear. When something happens and we become fearful, we become paralyzed. We're unable to correct the problem properly because the fear takes over. And once we understand that it's just a state of mind and we start to fill our consciousness with those positive thoughts that push the fear aside, it nothingizes it, it overcomes it, then we become sovereign. He also teaches that if you know how to pray correctly, you'll get results. It's not about begging. It's about commanding and expecting and living from the end result like it's already happened. And once you get that sort of mindset going on, then things start to happen. You can either be the master of life or life will master you. Devil goes on to explain. It takes work. You need to do that inner work in order to become a master. He also goes on to say that your dominating thoughts are what you attract into your experience daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So if you work on creating dominating thoughts that are positive and filling your mind with positive ideas and the teachings of others that have gone before you, that are living even, that can be your mentors and your teachers, and you absorb material and information that is strictly positive, and you get rid of that negative stuff that's programming you, you'll be able to attract more into your experience that you desire. Willpower is very important. He goes on to ask the devil how someone can break this spell that he is able to cast on people where they become drifters, and if it is even possible to become a non-drifter. And the devil explains that yes, it is possible if you use your willpower to break the habit of drifting. But you must work on yourself. If you don't, and if you wait too long, you become like a spider caught in a spider web, unable to free yourself. So the choice is ours, whether we want to be drifters or non-drifters.